Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like Tony La Russa, should have stayed retired. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Hi, everyone.
Ben with another expert cat toss right out of the beginning of the episode.
Man, I said this off mic, but oh my goodness, she got into my other cat's food. My other cat has medicated food, and the farts today have been rough. Oh my goodness, my eyes are burning.
Yeah, it looks. I can tell you look good.
Thank you.
What a good start to this episode. Well, on this week's episode, we are going to be talking about the first place Cardinals, some updates from the injured list, a little bit about some prospects, and some news and notes from around the league. If you have an idea for the opening joke, tweet us at Talk About Birds. Well, Hambone, my boy, how you doing today? I just got off a 9.5-hour car drive, so I am both amped up and tired at the exact same time.
Yeah.
How are things going in your world?
Well, I'd probably say better than yours. I did not have to sit in a car for a long time today, so I think that alone is nice.
Yeah.
But I had a really exciting surprise that it's super well timed. It happened like maybe 20 minutes ago, right before we got on mic.
Oh, okay.
And I haven't even told you about this, and this is really cool. So I think, as we've talked about, I'm getting married here, actually in exactly 1 month from today, which is crazy. And a good friend of mine, a good friend of ours.
Let me guess.
Yeah.
Albert Pujols is officiating your wedding.
Yes, he is. He is taking that series off, that weekend series with whoever, and he is coming to an undisclosed location.
Yeah.
No. So that's happening. We're very excited, of course. And a good friend, a mutual friend of ours of the pod, Johnny, is in town with his lovely girlfriend. And they rolled up to our house, and I'd just gotten in. I'd gotten home. I hopped in the shower. I like to shower with the window open. I look out and I see these two.
No one needs those details.
well, hear me out.
Okay.
I look out. I see these two walking, and they're carrying 2 seats in their hands, and they are. What I find out is our wedding gift from these 2 lovely, amazing people are Busch Stadium 2 original seats.
Wow.
Row 20, seats 1 and 2, and they set them in our backyard. So I'm like, I scream, I like let out some kind of, some weird noise, and, quickly got out of the shower, got dressed and everything like that, and ran out. And yeah, they got 2 original seats from Busch 2 for our wedding present. And I am unbelievably excited about it. I'll post it on the Twitters or something when this drops. But how awesome is that?
Wow, that's incredible. And I'll say too, finally having that like gigantic window in your shower that faces out to the street has served some good, except offsets all the visits from the police and local zoning boards and whatnot.
But I've been telling them it's fine. It's my right.
My property. Last I checked, this is America. So, well, that's awesome. Yeah. I this is the first I'm hearing of this. I mean, where did do you know where they got them? It's been a little while since Busch 2 was torn down.
So it's apparently something they had for years. It was something that Johnny's dad was interested in, didn't have a spot for him. And then kind of Johnny had this thought of like, who would really like this and has a reason to celebrate coming up, and thought of me. And he lives in Texas, and him and his girlfriend Rachel, they just drove up from Dallas, and they've been kind of hitting hot spots on the way up, and drove it all the way up here and gave it to us. And
that's awesome.
Pretty cool. I was really excited about that. And, something I'll have forever.
Do you think you're going to keep them like outside in your sort of barbecue area, or are you thinking like a basement, or I don't know? These are new kitchen table chairs.
I don't know. We have kind of like a record center in the basement that maybe would be a good spot for him. I don't know. I've literally have owned them for about 20 minutes. So I
Yeah.
haven't thought that far, but yeah, they're definitely going to be prominently featured somehow, some way. I don't know exactly. Maybe I'll just work when I work from home. Maybe I'll just sit in one
Sit
just
in
to
those.
kind of feel like I'm at a baseball game. But yeah,
Well,
I don't know. I don't know.
next time I come out there, I expect you to serve me nachos while I sit in them.
I would absolutely do that. But I'm going to make you purposely horrible nachos. I'm not even going to melt the cheese.
Joke's on you. There's no such thing as horrible nachos.
Okay.
Not in my world.
All right. Weird stance to take, but I'm not going to argue with you.
Hey, I had some Detroit style pizza in Detroit
Hey,
this weekend.
everybody's talking about it.
Are you a Detroit style pizza guy?
Sure. Yeah, we got a couple of places in Denver that claim to do Detroit style, and I think you know where I stand on this. All pizza is good pizza.
Yeah.
So I'm here for it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was good. I really enjoy it. And we were going to the source, so I had to get some.
Oh
And
wow,
yeah, uh,
you
you know,
really drank from the tap there. Hey.
well, we were there for family, but that to me was objective number two. Objective
Yeah.
number one was to just get right up at the nozzle of Detroit pizza and just gorge myself. It was good.
Wow. Well, that sounds like a great trip.
I will never recover.
Cool.
Yeah. So we both had a good last couple days.
Tab after dark. It's going
Yeah.
off the rails quick.
Yes. Well, let's get this back on the rails.
Yes.
We've got we're back in good Cardinal world.
Yeah.
We're back in enjoying baseball. We're going to forget a little bit about the series in Colorado, which I know you went to. Outcome's not great, but since then,
No.
things have felt a little better. Highlighted by the series win against Milwaukee, a crucial series, and almost 3 games. That middle game, I really don't even. It was a controversial game as far as some decision making and whatnot, but I think we're so far past that at this point. It's not too much worth it, but that or to really dig in on the individual decisions that people were upset about. But ultimately, taking 2 of 3 against the Brewers, you've got to be happy about it. And I
Yeah.
think that's
Well,
Go on.
I do want to though. I want to hit on one like philosophical, like a specific thing that I think people have problems with. I think that you're kind of hinting at, and I will say that I am for this philosophical point of view, and that is when Ali believes that he has a game that he wants to win, he will go and do everything he can to win that game and figure it out tomorrow. And I really appreciate that mindset. I think that that's good. The idea of the thing, right? Like the game in front of you is always more valuable than future games. You don't know what could happen. Maybe, Miles Michaelis will go 9 innings tomorrow and you won't need the bullpen. I think that that is a good North Star for managing. And I support that. And you obviously question the manager, do whatever you want. But I think
Yeah.
like if that is kind of his explanation, then that's what his explanation was over that series that you're referencing. And I just want to say I'm here for that. It makes all the sense to me. And Ryan Helsley
Yeah.
is really good.
Yes, he is. Yeah, I think when you're managing that way, you are, generally speaking, you're likely increasing the decisions that you're making. We saw a lot of pinch hitting, pitcher changes, a lot of different things, and when they work out, you look like a genius, and when they don't, you look stupid, right? And so the
Yeah.
more moves you make, the more you open yourself up to those sorts of things, and some moves didn't work out quite well Saturday night, but it was still a tight game, and it's frustrating to lose a Adam Wainwright complete game. But they had Corbin Burns, outside of DeGrom, maybe the best pitcher in
Yeah.
the NL, or maybe Scherzer, but still one of the top 3 pitcher in the NL at the very least.
Yeah.
And so it's not like it was a complete game from Wainwright against some scrub, And once it gets to extra innings with the ghost runner, which I'm still spooked by, it's
Are we not calling it the zombie?
is it zombie?
Well, I think it makes a little more sense.
Yeah, and I've always heard it called ghost runner, which never really made sense to me too, because that was a thing from like playing in a backyard where you just like
Yeah.
pretend there's someone on there. But either way, it's too spooky for me. Baseball, we're getting close to October, which is the spookiest month,
Ugh.
and you've got ghost runners or zombie runners or whatever. I'm not ready for it.
Next subject, please.
I'm gonna be
I'm too
blank.
afraid.
I have a blanket up to my chin. Extra
Oh,
innings. Oh no.
oh
Ben
my
just got
God.
mauled by his cat. This is a Mona heavy episode tonight.
I need like a water pistol or something. I'm being attacked from all angles. That one I just got back claws right into my thigh. But as a professional, I will keep my chin up
Keep
and move
going.
forward. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a disappointing outcome on Saturday, but ultimately 2-3 against the Brewers, leaving that series with a multi-game lead. Things are looking good so far against the Rockies at home, which is a better place to play the Rockies.
Yes, it is.
Really, anywhere outside of Colorado. But you were at all 3 of those games, so
Yeah.
that at least you got a show.
There was a lot of hits. I mean, that's the thing that people don't talk about, I think, with Coors Field enough, is that yes, the ball does fly higher there or further there. It's, I think, they've done endless studies, and it's like 5 to 10%, depending on obviously other conditions. But really, what happens when you go to a lot of games at Coors Field is that there are a billion hits to be had in front of the outfielders because of the size of that outfield and how you have to play it. And that's what happened to the Cardinals. So it was exciting in a way. But I much prefer the performance that is happening while we are recording right now.
Yes, absolutely. So the Cardinals are in first place, and there are 47 games left, and what is it, 25 against the some of the bottom teams in the league, the Pirates, the Reds, and the Cubs.
Well, yeah,
So
we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but yeah, to be very clear, the Cardinals have the easiest remaining schedule of any National League team going forward. The only team that has an easier schedule in baseball is the Mariners. Both teams that are likely bound for the playoffs. And yeah, it's 25 of those 47 games are against the Pirates, Reds, and Cubbies, all teams that got worse after the trade deadline, and all teams that were pretty bad to begin with.
yeah.
So I think, like, when you're just looking at the math there, that's about half of your games are against really bad teams. If you kind of, maybe stomp on the throat of these Pirates, Reds, and Cubbies and kind of play good baseball like the Cardinals have been playing, I mean, it's not too hard to envision where the Cardinals are going to end up, and that's at the top of this division.
Mhm.
And I guess to kind of piggyback that statement, the Brewers are playing some of those teams as well, but they do have a series against the Yankees. They have some NL East series. They have some NL West series. They're definitely have a harder schedule as it winds down with some Dodgers and some other tougher teams in there. So it we're how to phrase this.
It's
We're an optimistic podcast,
we
but
are an optimistic. Yeah.
at this point, I don't want to
There's
say
still
too much.
47 games. There's still a
Exactly.
lot of baseball left. But um, the so far, and the sample size is getting larger and larger, the acquisitions of Jordan Montgomery and Jose Quintana are exactly what this team needed.
Yeah.
In the game that's happening right now, Palante coming in the 6th inning to support a starter who had an incredibly effective 5 2/3 is such a different team than
Yeah.
Palante having to be the one who goes first and getting as deep as he can before we then have to turn it over to whoever can get those middle innings. So, so far so good since the All-Star break. And I think you just sort of chalk up the Colorado series to it being a series in Colorado. And that's how those games go sometimes. But yeah, so far it's looked really good. And I feel like there have been years in the past where at least the narrative has been that the Cardinals play down against bad teams and play up against good teams. And that's not really been the case. I should have looked this up. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but generally speaking, like the bulk of the Cardinals wins from this year are against these really bad teams. And I think you should be confident, barring any major setbacks or unknowables, like these 25 games against the Cubs, the Pirates, and the Reds. Like you have to expect some good outcomes there. And with the lead already, and the Brewers not looking great right now, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Like, yeah, I think there's a reason. I'll put it this way. We're not in the prediction business, but there's a reason why Fangraphs and pretty much all of the prediction modeling, 538, so on, all have the Cardinals now as a clear favorite to win the Central. And that's because of current play as well as upcoming schedule, which is fun. It's exciting. This has been a weird season at times. The Cardinals have looked like one of the best Cardinal teams we've seen in the last 5 years. And then at times it's like this whole thing is collapsing and we're going to miss the playoffs. But Mozeliak spun his little bow tie, and pulled off some magic. And here we are. So it feels good.
And it's funny because we've talked about that. We talked about this with Tara recently. We talked about this at the time of the trade deadline. It is like that because of the Juan Soto factor and all of the craziness that was this last year's trading deadline, there was this kind of lull of Mo didn't do enough. And I think that we were pretty good at saying what you just said, is that those acquisitions have been great. And it's exactly what the team needed, the time they needed it. And that was a really, I think we kind of came to the conclusion together on this show that like the problem was the pitching and the pitching depth, the major league innings were just not happening. And it can make a team look so unbelievably bad. And I would, I don't know if I should say this out loud, but J.A. Happ and John Lester may have actually saved the team to a certain degree. Obviously, not to the degree that Quintana and Montgomery have done it, but we were at the point where we were just begging for major league innings. We were arguing for Dallas Keuchel acquisition, which was clearly something that only somebody in a desperate situation would do. So
when he's now on his third bottom barrel team, and he just keeps getting cut by teams that are bad. So.
I think he's about to break some record. I think if he gets picked up and dropped one more time, that is a record for a Cy Young pitcher, a person who has won the Cy Young, to be dropped by a team 4 times in one season.
Makes sense.
Don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure that is a record that he may break this year.
I will say, to repeat one of my concerns from the episode last week with Tara, is that like, I do think that Quintana and Montgomery were, guys like them were exactly what this team needed to stabilize the regular season approach to winning games. How this team stacks up against some of the top tier teams in the NL, like I still think, we are, if we go into the playoffs, we'll be one of the worst starting rotations in the playoffs. Which doesn't necessarily mean anything. I think about the Royals of 2015 and 2016, and even the Cardinals themselves in some years that they've made the playoffs. It's not the end of the world. You can still be successful in the playoffs, especially when you have a bullpen with guys like Helsley in it. In a short series, you can go to them even sooner. But I still think even if we win the Central, it's still going to be a real tough road to get against some of these elite right-handed pitchers that a lot of these teams have, which clearly the elite right-handed pitchers is what the Cardinals really struggle against.
Yeah.
But I guess that's a problem for future episodes. And right now, the goal is to win the division, and that's what's happening.
I do think a very valid question, and there are many answers, which is probably the problem, is who is starting your game one or game five or game seven or whatever pivotal game is. Is it you go with Michaelis, and you switch to the bullpen as soon as things go awry? Do you go with
Yeah.
Wayno? Is Jack going to be healthy? We'll talk about Jack here in a little bit. I mean, that's a huge question, but yeah, I definitely
Well,
prescribe to the idea of we'll figure
we
that
got
out when it
future
comes.
episodes. Yeah, we need
Yeah,
content for future episodes.
yeah,
But yeah, so a couple things beside, we've talked the macro about what's going well on the micro level. Arenado, man, I know the story is Goldschmidt, and he's leading in all of these offensive categories. I saw he, while I don't think he's going to catch up on home runs, he is like on a triple crown watch right now, and it's the middle of August, which
yeah.
is truly incredible. And so I still think he's the front runner for the MVP, but as of right now, Arenado leads him in Fangraphs WAR. Of course, a lot of that is buoyed by his just constant stellar defense, but it's
Yeah.
also that's part of that matters,
Yeah.
and that can matter in an MVP voting. And so we're really seeing in August, Arenado has been incredible,
Well,
and
I was
it's
tweeting
yeah.
about this idea the other day, but Arenado's having the best year he's ever had. Um,
Hmm.
his defense is going to eclipse what he's done. His offense has already eclipsed what he's done, including being on the Rockies because of the environment from St. Louis to Colorado.
Right,
We're
like
watching
from a
something
park adjusted. You're saying from a
exactly.
park adjusted standpoint, yeah.
Exactly. So unless he absolutely craters for these final 40 plus games, I mean, we're watching something that we're probably watching an Arenado career year. I'm not saying that he can't repeat, but it's hard to imagine him getting much better than this, where everything, I mean, he's just been doing everything well.
Yeah.
Um, and
What's
I was just going to be a little obnoxious because it's tab after dark.
well, and I
Um,
mean, to be fair, like I don't think you have to alert us to when that flip is being switched, because I think it's always on, but please.
yeah, thanks, pal. Um, what's your panic level of Nolan opting out?
No, don't break my heart.
All right, I won't. We don't need to talk about this right now. We don't need to kick the beehive, but I wonder.
He still, what's he have, like for 125 million or something
Yeah,
like that left
yeah,
if he doesn't opt out. I I could see if if he ends this season at like 8 WAR or something, that he's like
yeah.
marching towards maybe 7.5 more realistically. Yeah, maybe someone out there offers him a 5-year 30 AAV. But I don't know. The market is real, even for a guy of his talent, the market over the last several years has really changed for guys that are in their uh, early to mid 30s. The elite guys like he is are still getting paid,
Yeah.
but you're not seeing those 10-year, $300
No, no,
million,
no, no, no. I
know.
think he'd get a Freddie Freeman plus deal somewhere a little over what Freddie Freeman just got from the Dodgers based on his age. But obviously, he is at a not a premium defensive position, but he is a premium defensive player. Everybody knows that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of that talk went around with the Juan Soto thing when the Cardinals didn't sign or didn't trade for Soto. It was like, oh, well, now Arenado's going to opt out. Um, but I'm still pretty confident. I mean, he is a guy who wanted to play for the Cardinals well before the rumors even started. There were all those fun stories about him texting Adam Wainwright
Hmm.
highlight reels saying, "Did you show these to Mo? Show these to Mo?"
Yeah.
So which is awesome, right? Like
Yeah.
as a Cardinal fan, you're like, hell yeah, like I love that. And I, I don't know.
Also, the
There's no way,
confidence.
yeah, there's no way to view this without Cardinal colored glasses. And so I don't think he will, especially if the Cardinals do win the Central. I think he probably could get a slightly better contract on the this offseason if he does opt out. But I've gotten the sense from him that he's a guy that's more about, he's got his money and he's more about competition. That's why he wanted out of
Yeah.
the Rockies so much, was because he wanted to compete. And if the Cardinals win the NL Central, you look at the Cardinal pipeline, you like to think that you're already on that team. Why go out and mix it up? And when you just don't know what teams are going to come calling, because the Cardinal, if he does, I think we can all agree that the Cardinals would not be in on the Arenado sweepstakes if he opts out. The Cardinals would probably
I
say,
wonder.
yeah, I don't
I
know. They
think
don't
that's a
normally,
legitimate question
yeah. They don't
because
normally sign guys like that, the other than the extension to Goldschmidt.
that is true. I would not be surprised if we see in the negotiating window before other teams can talk to him, even a reformatted contract with the Cardinals and Arenado, and maybe
That
adding a couple of years with
yeah,
25 each, or I'm just kind of spitballing right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens.
that is a different thing, and that is an
Yeah,
interesting idea. I could maybe see that where they restructure and say, like, you're a Cardinal for life, or
yeah,
something like that. And now we're gonna have you till they're age 37 or 38 or whatever, and
sure,
we'll figure and we'll go from there. Because one thing I was thinking about too is Arenado has been on a Hall of Fame pace, but like this year I think is like really cementing his future Hall of Fame track. And I could see the Cardinals, putting some value on that. We've seen that a little bit from them.
yeah. I mean,
Wanting
to
with
not to go totally off the rails on this conversation, but I wonder, is it time to start talking about extending Goldie again? I know there's time, but I
yeah,
think
he's still got a couple years.
still
Yeah.
got a couple of years. I think I just love these players so much. I just don't want to see them
Well,
go.
turns out having a Hall of Fame first baseman and a Hall of Fame third baseman in the like prime of their career. You know what, Ben? I'm gonna say it. I love it too. It's
Yeah.
great. It's a lot of fun.
Eh,
This was
er,
what
er,
everyone in this year is what everyone envisioned. Like, what if
yeah.
Arenado and Goldschmidt were on the same team and and they both had career style years? Like, it
Yeah.
lifts an entire team, because the Cardinals have one of the better offenses in all of baseball, and it's almost exclusively because of those two guys. Because
That is
everyone
true.
else, top to bottom, everyone else has had ups and downs, struggles. We've had flashes of success from O'Neill. We had Edman looked like the best player in baseball for like 2 months, and now it's like, should he be go back to platooning? There's no one else that has been even close. O'Neill's either been hurt or ineffective. Bader's gone.
Yeah.
Yachty was kicking basketballs in Puerto Rico for 2 months. Like, all of this to say, like, they are the offense, and all you need is um like a supporting cast around them, and the
Sure.
Cardinals have a great offense.
Yeah. Should
Well,
we
yeah,
should we talk about Edmund a little bit real quick since you brought it up?
I guess I don't know what to say more than, like, I hate that, you and I both went into this season saying, like, I thought there was an 80% chance Edman sort of cratered and became a real role, platoon sort of super utility guy. What we're seeing like Brendan Donovan do. And then I thought, there was this like 20% chance or so that he took a step up. And that's what it looked like for the first several months
Yeah.
of the season. I mean, he was leading all of baseball, at least for a little while, in I think it was Baseball Reference WAR, but and his total number on WAR is still really good because of those insane first couple months. But at this point, it's been a real struggle. He had that home run, was it last night, which was nice, but uh, for the most part, it's been, Edmund now is batting ninth a lot. and
Yeah.
not looking great when that happens. And second base defense is great, don't get me wrong, but like, there's a reason it's one of the lower tiers as far as like positional strength for defense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of wondering, and again, we don't want to overreact too much. Even though we did our Tommy Edman apology
We
episode
did.
a couple
We
months
did.
back or whenever that was, but yeah, I do. It does definitely makes me wonder. Like, is he kind of who we thought he was? Is he a defensive ace and maybe a platoon player, a spot starter type guy, a guy that if we're committing to Paul DeYoung and we're committing to Nolan Gorman. We just talked about the corners are locked down. I think we're pretty happy with what's going on in left field and center field. Is that kind of how it's going to be? Yepez is coming back soon. I wonder.
Yeah.
That being said, like you were just talking about, the defensive value should not be ignored. He is. I was just looking it up by Fangraphs, where he's the second best defender in baseball. Period, or most valuable at his position, I guess we should say. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I agree with everything you said. I just kind of thought we should maybe touch on it because that has been glaring. Maybe isn't the right word because he's still super steady on defense, and that does go a long
Yeah.
way, especially for the way this team is built.
Well, and speed
But yeah,
doesn't slump, and
right.
when you get into these really important games, playoff or otherwise, like, you can see a real value in having an Edman on your team. It's the same reason the Yankees traded for Harrison Bader, right? Like, a defensive specialist who is really fast, assuming his foot is okay, like,
Yeah.
is a powerful piece in a short series. And so, like, by no means are we saying like, get Edman out of there or anything, but like, is he done, at least for now, as a starter for the team? It seems like things are trending in that direction, especially as Gorman, who is having his own rookie struggles, but like, the thing he is offering at the plate is just more dynamic than what you're offering at the plate from Edman. And I'd rather see Gorman work it out as a very young, slugger, and already is showing that his power plays at the major league. I'd rather see him get those at bats than Edman. And I don't think we're alone in this thought. I think that's where
Yeah.
a lot of this is going, especially, with Yepez likely being back. I saw he is having a few more rehab games. He's still down in AAA. I think there's talk that maybe Saturday he could be back, but they're really not rushing him, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that Edman turns it around because he's a fun player when he clicks. Like the Edman apology episode. I mean, it was. So now this is our Edman apology episode.
Yeah. All right.
All right. What else? Before we move on, I guess we saw Montgomery again tonight. The game just ended as we were talking, and I mean, it's the Rockies, and it's in Bush, but look great.
Yeah.
5
I
2/3.
think
Yeah.
as advertised, have to be happy with everything we're seeing from him.
I am so excited about having him for another year too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he's going. I hope that he enjoys it too, because I feel like he's gonna be going from like, fifth starter on the Yankees, full of all of their studs, although they've been having their own problems, to like the
Shouldn't have traded
savior.
Gallo.
Yeah, it's the Gallo curse. And now Montgomery is like the savior, and looks like one of the best pitchers on the team.
I mean, I imagine any player is fine, especially a competitor like him, like is fine with taking that on. Yes, I am better than
Yeah.
XYZ, and I don't need to be in Garrett Cole's shadow. And I'm sure I hope that's how he's taking it.
Yeah.
And he's from our neck of the woods. Hopefully he enjoys that aspect of it too. Get him out of
Yeah.
that big city. It's scary.
Yeah. So the buildings are so tall.
Yeah. Yeah. You can get dim sum at 4 a.m. Come on now.
Well, that sounds great.
It does sound great, actually. No,
Yeah.
I'm for that. I apologize.
you mentioned you wanted to talk about Helsley a little bit.
You know, I just don't know. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say other than I just think we need to kind of sit here and recognize how great Helsley has been right now. Um, by all he has been one of the best players on the Cardinals. He has been one of the best pitchers in baseball. He has the highest baseball reference WAR of anybody on the pitching staff for the St. Louis Cardinals. I
Yeah,
just don't know if I've ever seen anything like this. Watching it, like I know Zach Britton had a god level relief year a few years ago with Orioles
right.
before he moved. But I've never seen anything like this watching on a daily basis. And I just wanted to put that note there because I just think we need to talk about it. And it's at the point where what's he at? He's 50 innings or so. Like this is Ryan Helsley.
Yeah,
And we know he's 49 and 2/3. That was pretty close.
yeah.
But we obviously know there's variability on relief pitchers,
well,
but
well,
this
Ben,
is
you
a
did.
season
It
that
is
he's putting
close.
together.
It's closest without going over, and you said 50, and he's at
Oh my
49 and 2/3. So
God.
you're gonna lose that one.
These rules
But
need
yeah,
to change.
it is incredible. He should and will receive Cy Young votes. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he should. He won't even be top 3 because there are some truly incredible starting pitchers happening right now in the NL. But when you get to that down ballot element of the Cy Young, like I don't think you go too far down the list before you start getting to Ryan Helsley. And the only other reliever that's even in that conversation, Edwin Diaz, is also having a truly phenomenal year with the Mets. So like, I think he's a
Yeah.
little overshadowed by just the Mets and the strikeout numbers. Like Helsley's striking out a lot of guys, but Edwin Diaz is striking out like almost like
Yeah.
50% of people he faces or
Yeah.
something
It's
like
like
that.
almost 20 per 9 or something like that.
Yeah, it's incredible. So it's being a little overshadowed, but yeah, it's a ton of fun. And I know we all had a lot of hype for Helsley at different times, but also like this really does kind of feel like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like I mean, you never project someone to be this good, but like even like 75% as of this good, I never would have thought you'd get from Helsley. And
And
it's
it's
fun.
the dominance. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
we've had Cardinals closers or guys at the back of the bullpen where they get the job done. I'm thinking of Trevor Rosenthal, huge stuff, but
Yeah.
he'd give you a heart
Hicks when he
attack every
was,
once in a while. Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
Helsley, he just comes in and it's done.
Yeah, it's fun. It's kind of the inverse of what we were saying when we spoke with Kyle Reese. How like, can you name a starting pitcher that the Cardinals have developed that was like long term good?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, Adam Wainwright 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and but relief. There's some more benefit of small sample size variance and whatever a
Yeah.
full season can swing in the direction of a reliever, but like we've seen that a little bit more with the Cardinals, but we've never seen it to this degree with Hells or with anyone really,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. Let's move on. So we wanted to touch a little bit on because I think it's just fun for us to talk about the Brewers, and Ben, turns out, or at least it seems so far, that maybe trading your own possibly Hall of Fame track closer at the trade deadline, maybe not the shrewdest in season move.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yes. What a statement to make. First
Yeah.
off, brave.
Thank
Second
you.
off, yeah, I think you're right on. I think we talked about the Brewers, and I don't even think I would when we were kind of writing this outline. I wasn't thinking this is just like a Brewers dunk session. I was more thinking like it's really the only real competition the Cardinals have. It is our primary focus right now, as far as because winning the division is pretty much the only option unless other things happen. And I don't think the Braves are slowing down. The Mets aren't slowing down. Dodgers are
Padres
unbelievable.
should be
Padres are,
getting better. Phillies
yeah,
look better. Like
yeah.
there's a lot of competition for those wild card spots.
There is. So I mostly, I think it's an important time of the year to really focus in on what's going on with the Brew Crew, and their offense has just been, I mean, so bad. It to the point where it is bewildering. Like, I don't understand, and I'm not the first person to say this, but I just don't understand what's happened to Christian Yelich. He hit a like 450-foot bomb the other night, and I caught that replay. So I thought, oh, hey, maybe he's starting to click. Maybe he's starting to hit the ball back in the air again, which is, if you remember, that was kind of the big change from when he went to Miami to the Brewers, is that he always hit that crap out of the ball. He just started being able to lift it. And when you hit the ball really hard, you start to lift it and it goes out of the ballpark, you become an MVP player and one of the best players in baseball. And for him to lose that is something that's completely bewildering to me. And he's just, he has had a couple of fits of production this year, but right now he is in a super deep hole. And I just don't see how the team can turn around, even with Corbin Burns, Woodruff, Devin
Yeah.
Williams, all these superstar, maybe not in popularity, but in talent level names on their pitching staff. I just don't know how you overcome it when you have Rowdy Tellez, who has been solid, as your offensive star.
Yeah, well, and it's been their problem for a while now, right? Like it's really the starting rotation and the bullpen helps them win over a full season, but particularly in any sort of important um, small series, whether it's playoffs or against like the Cardinals in a divisional matchup, like they are struggling deeply to score runs, and it seems like it's worse now than it's been for a while. It's a lot of worst case scenario outcomes for a lot of these
Yeah.
guys. Keston Hira, at one point looked like the future, one of the best players in the game, and he's been trash. Rowdy Tellez was sort of a scrap heap grab from the Blue Jays too, and it looked like, oh, they got something. And it's not like he's been bad,
No.
but it's not. He's not a carry an offense type of guy. There's just nobody in that lineup that is scary. And if you have any sort of competent starting or bullpen pitching, you can mitigate it. And that's what we saw in the series this weekend.
Yeah.
Like the Cardinals struggled on their own to score runs a little bit against some of their best pitching, which is what happens. But for the most part, like these games were not, um, that like the Cardinals just beat them, and it was pretty clear.
Yeah. It's just really hard to put my finger on. I, they seem to be trending downward. Now you look at the record, that's not totally true. If you look at their run differential over the past about a month or so, that's really where you kind of see the pimples starting to pop up on their team and how they're trending. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, pimples starting to pop up.
Yeah,
I hated
that's
it.
a little, it's gross, but that's kind of what's happening. And Burns has been good, but not like he was last year. Woodruff has been good, but not like he has been the past 2-3 years or so.
Yeah.
I still really like both of those pitchers.
Yeah, and
And then
Peralta
this,
was hurt for most of the season, though he's
right?
back and ramping up, so that could be a good weapon for them. Because I mean, that 1, 2, 3 of Burns, Woodruff, and Peralta is obviously can be elite, and then but Lauer, who was looking like maybe a future ace for them, has also had his own struggles. So it's a rough time for them, but you know a month ago we were saying all of these things about the Cardinals, and now all of a
Right.
sudden, everything feels good for the Cardinals. So things can turn on a dime. They are still a good team, but you know, it definitely feels like they're on a downward trajectory rather than an upward one.
Yeah. And will Christian Yelich ever turn it around?
He's only getting older.
I
Like
know.
it all started from his back injury,
Yeah.
and it's just gone downhill from there, which sucks. I don't like the Brewers, but I always liked Christian Yelich. He seemed like a fun player, but yeah, he's been rough for a while now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have a very specific memory of him hitting. He had a 3 home run game against the Cardinals that year that he was MVP, and
Yeah.
I hated it. But there is something fun about watching somebody who is just dominant.
Yeah.
And also, I just love the skinny, lanky guy hitting 40+ bombs. It's just
Right.
fun.
It just never, yeah, it was clearly and maybe this is part of it, but it was clearly a, wasn't just like big, strong guy hitting hard
Yeah,
homer. It was he was clearly like a technical, he had a very distinct approach and was really good at executing it. And
yeah.
the back injury, maybe it slowed him down. I bet if you dug in, we could find a little bit more like around bat speed or something like that. But
Well,
we're a
yeah.
Cardinal podcast, not a Brewer podcast.
Well, I've dug in a little. It's launch angle. He's just driving the ball into the ground. He's hitting it
Yeah.
hard. He's just driving into the ground. And I think that, like, if you ever think like, and I don't think we think this, but if you ever, oh, I could be out there. I could be out there. Blah blah blah.
No,
And you have
never
one of the
once
most
have I.
yeah, one of the most talented athletes in the world, and he was able to get under the ball a little bit for a couple of years, and now he just can't.
Yeah.
Just like illustrating how difficult it is to hit a baseball well and hard and over the wall. It's just crazy. And I know I kind of started this little segment off by saying that I don't want to just sit here and dunk on the Brewers. I do have this note. Since the Brewers have traded for Taylor Rogers, he has a 9.64 ERA, which
Classic. Well, he was struggling with the Padres. That's
yeah,
part of why the Padres went and got Hader,
right.
who would been kind of struggling a little bit on his own, but still the pedigree was there. You assume he's going to be
Yeah.
good. But yeah, Rogers was not really doing well um, for the Padres. I kind of assumed that trade was more about those other pieces that they got. And I said this before, and I do believe it. Like I do think likely long term, the return that they're going to get from the Hader trade will be a net positive for the team. But it's just very strange for a first place team at that time to make a win later move like that. So
And for them not to trade, like, if you would have traded Hader for, I don't know, X offensive player
right,
and improved your offense, and then said, Devin Williams, we believe that you can take over this role, and you're that good, but we're going to go trade from a place of wealth and fix a place of need. That would have made sense to me, and I think probably the clubhouse and the fan base.
would
But yeah, just a
understand it.
strange move. Yeah, I agree. I
Well,
think it was shrewd, and it's probably going to work out for them in the long run. But like we were talking about with Ali's kind of thought philosophy, like win the game in front of you right now. Like focus on the winning in the year that you're in. Obviously, don't like completely sell out the future for that. If you,
yeah,
especially when you're in a market like Milwaukee, but yeah, I don't know. I almost think they were being too smart there, or too
yeah.
thoughtful, or too. I don't know.
Well, like any trade for a bunch of prospects, like you really can't measure it for several years, but it definitely uh, looks and feels bad for them right now. All right, well, we still have a bunch to talk about, so let's get off of the Brewers and move back to some interesting Cardinal talk. But before we do that, we want to remind everybody that this show is supported on Patreon. If you enjoy the show, want to support it, want to see it grow, consider subscribing at patreon.com/talking about birds, where you can become friends with our newest patron, Catechus Finch. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate the support. Again, that's patreon.com/talking about birds. Anyone who subscribes gets access to our private Discord server. We call it the Bird Scored. It's a great
Tweet,
place to
tweet.
go. Tweet, tweet. It's a great place to go and chat with other Cardinal fans and sort of get away from some of the noise of other platforms that people use for talking about baseball. And we're there all the time talking about whatever is going on. Maybe sometimes doing some prep for the show. Get in there. We're having a great time. It's been slowly growing and it's been a lot of fun. So shout out to our existing patrons as well as the new one. If you can't do that, we would also love it if you would leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps. It really does. Helps us show up in searches and whatnot. And also, It's just nice. We love to read it. It makes us feel good. So
Our egos are very fragile.
are very fragile. I need constant reassurance that I am seen. So Ben, why don't you tell everyone where they can find us online?
Yeah, of course, you can follow us at Talk About Birds on Twitter. As C70 likes to poke out, that is stupid. You can follow us oh my goodness, you can follow us on Instagram, Talking About Birds. So Instagram, Talking About Birds, Twitter, Talk About Birds. Very confusing.
It makes sense
And
and it's normal.
and per usual, you can email us any thoughts, questions, musings at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. Generally, I like to direct you towards Nate and his personal life. Guy loves pizza. He loves Detroit. He drove to Detroit just to get a slice. Although I guess it's a square in Detroit, isn't it?
Yeah. I think
Nate's
you
pizza
still call that
passionate.
a slice though.
Do you? So if you
Well,
go to
now I don't.
Emos and you pick up a square, you say, "Oh, that's what a slice of pizza that was."
It's the square beyond compare, my dude.
Maybe nobody talks like that, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah. I think
it's
it's
a
still a
piece.
slice, but
It's,
that's a good point.
you're a psychopath.
Well,
See,
if
this
anyone
is
has
what
an
I'm talking
opinion on
about. This is what I'm talking about. Email question Nate. I don't even think he actually likes pizza. I think it's all bullshit.
Whoa.
Shots
My
fired.
yeah. Now you have to die. So if you have an opinion on whether it's a slice or not, tweet us at Talk About Birds. I think it's a slice. What else are you doing?
Okay.
Yeah, I got
When your
really high
voice
pitched
gets high
there.
like that, I believe you less. I think you know that you're wrong.
I don't know what you're talking about. All right. Well, this sucked. Let's move on.
Yeah.
All right. Some good news, some interesting news, though we've been down this road before. So I'm trying to
We
be
have. Yes.
I'm trying to be calm. I'm trying to be zen,
Cautiously optimistic,
cautiously
Nathan.
optimistic. Jack
Yes.
Flaherty is
Yes.
progressing in his rehab. Is
Yes.
another rehab start coming on Sunday?
He
He
does.
looked better in his most recent one, though. Of course, it was against Double A, but
Yeah.
still, better is good.
Hey, the
And
velo was up. We're seeing mid
yeah,
90s. That's
yeah,
where my concern is centered right now around Jack Flaherty.
right. And we said this before. It would be great to have Jack Flaherty back. You know, even if he ends up in the bullpen to end the season, like that is valuable. I'd love to have him fill that fifth starter spot and give Dakota Hudson a break. But either way, having an effective Jack Flaherty back will be helpful. So we'll see. I think we kind of leave it at that. We've spent a lot of time this season talking about a guy who has not actually pitched that much for the Cardinals, really, for quite a while now. So we're definitely monitoring that, and that could be a huge boon to the pitching staff as the season winds down.
Yeah, like I think the only thing to really question, and let's just, kind of talk about this with the assumption that he will come back healthy and but be limited. Like
Right.
I think the big question is just how is he utilized?
Yeah.
And do the Cardinals have the luxury to kind of have him figure it out in the big leagues right now? Because we were just talking about Quintana and Montgomery have, righted the ship. I think there's obvious worry about Dakota Hudson and his performance in the starting rotation. It sounds like he's going to be skipped here in the next go around.
Right.
I know there's a lot of people who are asking for Jake Woodford to get a start. I think that's really interesting.
Jake Woodford insulted Mozeliak's mom or something at the he said your bow tie's crooked one time to Mozeliak, and Mozeliak like threw his ascot over his shoulder and said,
well, then Jake Woodford should just that should make him want to work that much harder.
It's a good point.
Bootstraps and so on and so forth.
Yep.
But yeah, I think like I guess I'm just kind of pontificating about things that aren't going to happen, maybe. But I guess I just wonder how that's going to be utilized. And I guess the good thing now is that I wouldn't say that the Cardinals absolutely need that to happen to be competitive. But like you said, how much better is that team with even if Jack is limited in the bullpen?
Well, a month ago or 2 months ago, 2 months ago when he first came back, it was like, we need Jack Flaherty back because we need a number 3 starter,
Right.
and now it's a lot better to let him work it out either as the 5th starter or as a bullpen arm. Like, there's just a lot more space there, impacts a lot lower, a lot less of a need. You can skip starts with your 5th starter. You can give him that space and that time. So we'll see. But right now,
Yeah.
we're just looking for health. There's talk that this Sunday rehab, if it goes well, his next start could be in the majors. But there was all the controversy about last time. It wouldn't surprise me if they give him another one just to be safe. But
Yeah.
either way, he's a fun guy. So I hope he makes it back soon. The MLB.com just released another list of top prospects, and couple new additions for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
This Cardinal class of prospects just continues to get better and more hyped. And we saw Alec Burleson added, which is fun and not super surprising. But I think the one that's really the most fun, although I'm not sure if I'm ready to love a pitching prospect again just yet, but Tink Martavius
Yeah.
Hens, on the list. And
Markavian, I believe.
did I say,
Markavian.
Markavian? Okay. He I mean, it's obvious when you watch anything that he does, it's incredible, and you can
Yeah.
see why everyone is stoked as hell about him. There's no such thing as a pitching prospect, as they say, and
Yeah.
the Cardinals have really been the poster child of that theory. But
I mean,
right
he's
now
he's
he looks
he's a
great.
baby, and he's
Yeah.
striking out almost 16 per 9 in the single A. You
Yeah.
have to be excited by that. And I think, like those numbers are great to talk about, but the eyeball test and seeing that power fastball fly
Yeah.
out of his
Well, there's a
hand.
reason
I
he's
mean,
flying up every list.
oh
It
yeah,
because he's checking off both the old school eyeball test. He's got the frame, he's got the delivery, he's got the the winning makeup that people look for, and then he also is hitting all of those more advanced metrics that
yeah.
newer prospect evaluators are looking for.
Yeah.
So everything is
And
coming together to make him look like one of the better pitching prospects in baseball, which is fun.
I think Burleson's about to he's going to be on the top 100 and then be in the major leagues and be off the top 100 in record time here. It's gonna I think he's
Yeah,
gonna make this list. And I really it would I know Corey Dickerson's production has screwed this timeline up that we kind of had in our head, and it's obviously the team is good with when Corey Dickerson hitting the ball well, but it's the kids have been so good for the Cardinals this year. You just want to
yeah,
keep seeing
get
more
him
of it,
up there.
Brent. Yeah.
Yeah,
See what he's
yeah. I
got. I
mean,
want to see
it's
that beard in the bigs. I want to see that sweet left-handed swing in the bigs. I just want to see it. I want to watch it
yeah.
every day.
It's probably the right thing that they're keeping him in the minors and letting him continue to mash and continue to get those everyday at bats and develop and whatnot. But yeah, it feels like he could have been called up 2 months ago, also,
Yeah,
and
it
just
does.
be the right fielder, like
Yeah.
now and for the rest of the season and
Yeah.
maybe next year and beyond. So we'll see,
Yep.
but it's still fun. I mean, these recent draft classes just continue to look phenomenal. And at this point, I'm just like, I hope Randy Flores doesn't get a GM job somewhere else. Like,
Yeah.
we need a couple more years of
Yeah.
this because
Yeah.
he clearly knows what he's doing.
Graceffo jumped up quite a bit. I think Jordan
Yeah.
Walker jumped up one spot.
What?
Like
Yeah.
pretty much all good news.
The only one, Liberatore went down, which I think is
Yeah.
fair, and Ivan Herrera fell off,
Yeah.
and he was already fringe 100, and then a sort of uncomfortable start at the majors. He's still looking good at AAA, but I'm not surprised that he fell off. Any sort of catching prospect that their range will be all over the place, so I'm not too worried about it. For the most
Yeah.
part, I thought that these adjustments made sense and all together work good for the Cardinals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, really quick, we could move on here in a second, but there's been all the videos of Jordan Walker playing the outfield, and he's getting some starts in right, left, and center, and that
Yeah.
looks pretty good. He's just so big and so athletic, and he hits the ball
Yeah.
so damn hard. It's just hard not to get So
At this
excited
point,
about him.
it's
Yeah.
hard not to think that he competes for a starting, or at least for a roster spot at spring training next year, right?
I have to imagine he'll kind of get the Gorman treatment. Like, we're going to give
Yeah.
you 3+ weeks to kind of make us make this decision.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just fun to get you fall in love with the prospect, and then you see the
Yeah.
videos, and obviously it's the highlights. You're not seeing the young kid gaffes that he's probably making. And I'm sure that's happening, but man, it's
Well,
just fun to be hyped about him.
and hey, from our previous discussion, we don't want it to happen. But if Arenado opts out, it is nice to know you've got Jordan Walker waiting there for you.
And Nolan
So,
Gorman.
and Gorman. Yep. We're talking about a lot of good things, but let's just close the door on something. TJ McFarland officially released. We wish him the best of luck. We basically bid him adieu last week, but it has become official now. So, it is what it is. I hope that he bounces back somewhere with someone. So
Yeah, I have
let's.
nothing to say on that topic.
Yeah, but
Sorry,
all
TJ.
right. So you've got some sort of a rundown of some league news that we want to touch on. Some
Yeah.
interesting things have happened this week. Some pretty notable things, really. So where do you want to start?
Yeah, it's been a crazy week. I think we start with probably the biggest thing in baseball since last time we talked. Fernando Tatis Jr. suspended for 80 games for PEDs. Unsurprisingly, he came out with one of the dumbest post PED suspension comments I've ever read in my life. Take the L, bro. Take the L. Apologize.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you, like, I understand the the um the desperation or the
yeah,
feeling that a player might have and why they need to take it. And even somebody like Tatis, I'm not healing as quickly as I need to. I'm not
right.
doing this. I understand that internal pressure. I am fine with that. That is why we have a system that if you break it, you're not kicked out of the game forever. There's some leeway. You get 80 games, then you get 160, and then you're done. But it's the bullshit response that I think I saw
Yeah,
somebody tweet that was like, it said something to the effect of, and I'm paraphrasing, but hey, Tatis family, we're not all as stupid as you are, or something like that. Like these paper
yeah.
thin excuses of ringworm, and like, what are you
Now
talking
it's
about?
he got a haircut that became infected or something like that. Like it just doesn't make any sense. And anytime you see these long emails or long messages from them about like the substance that they took for one reason and it just turned out to have a different substance in it, it's like that just, I wanted to believe it when it first came out. I thought like I I I don't believe this, but I hope that it's true. And then it was like within a couple hours, it was like, oh, he clearly like Googled the name and found something similar. I don't even know where
Yeah.
he came up with this. It's actually one of the worst attempts. At least Avisail Garcia created a fake website for his for his bullshit excuse. Like,
Yeah.
do you think we're not gonna check this? It sucks. And I hate it. And it sucks because he is, he's one of the faces of the game, and I'm empathetic as you are about it. Like, I get it, and my argument has actually been that like I don't think that the punishment is strong enough for the first time because 80 games isn't that much, and you the benefits, if used appropriately and matched with some skill already, like the benefits of steroids, like it makes it worth it. Even if you get
Yeah.
caught, like it makes it worth it. There's a reason why these guys do it. And it's even a little weirder with like Tatis, who's already secured the bag, but they're all like insane competitors. So you understand why they do these things. So I actually think that the punishment should be first time is a full season and then second time is, you're done.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other conversation. So
And,
it's just
and
frustrating.
I think what you said is right on, but also like, man, of any 80 game span to miss, this is a rough one. You just
Yeah.
got Juan Soto. You're fighting for the division. You're fighting for a wild card. You're destined for the playoffs. Pretty exciting team. Your pitching is pretty healthy.
Yeah.
Man, they could use a nice offensive button from him.
Yeah.
And like I said,
He's,
yeah, I think you're right. And I think, like I said, at the same time, I also think he probably would get more empathy if he was like, hey, here I was freaking out about this injury recovery, and I I did something I shouldn't have done
I made a
because I
mistake.
was worried
Yeah.
it wasn't going to work. I wanted to be healthy that bad. And I think his team probably would have understood that. I would have understood that more, and people wouldn't be
Yeah. We
dragging
wouldn't
him over the
forgive it.
coals everywhere.
Yeah. We wouldn't forgive it, of course, because like it is, he should not have done it. So our empathy does not expand to saying like, we approve him having done it. But yeah, it's that follow up of like, trying to trick everybody with like a really, really stupid excuse just makes you dislike him, not just as like a competitor and like a like I don't know, like a moral high ground sort of standpoint, but also just as like, man, did you really think we weren't gonna figure that out? Like, where did that? I don't know. It's dumb,
Right.
and it's forever
Yes.
gonna taint the perception of him. And he might have just. Who knows what 20 years from now looks like, but he looked like a guy who was going to have an incredibly fruitful career with a potential for long-standing accolades and including things like Hall of Fame. And it's crazy that like at 22 or whatever, he might have just ended
Yeah.
that story. I don't know,
Well,
who knows what the vibe on those things will be in 2 decades, but
it'll
he could
always be
have.
brought up at the
It'll
very
always,
least. It'll
yeah, it's
always
like
be
Ryan
there.
Braun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also a guy
Mo-
who made a bunch of stupid
yes, he
decisions.
did. Yeah. Did he ever come around and just admit it? I can't remember, but it doesn't
Yeah,
really
because he
matter.
had to like call all those season ticket holders and be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I'm
Oh,
stupid fucking
yes.
Ryan Braun. I made
Yeah.
a big oopsie, and
Yeah.
I got that guy fired, and yeah, it was me." Yeah. All right,
We'll
let's move
get
on.
some more bummer news out of the way. Walker Bueller out for the rest of the season. Dodgers obviously are stacked. I don't even know
Yeah,
if they're going to miss a beat, but
he's hardly been there this year, and they're gonna win like 110 games. It's so
they have
stupid.
80 wins right now.
Yeah, and
80.
Dustin May is coming back, who
Yeah.
looks phenomenal, and it's like, oh no, our ace is broken. Okay, well, that just gives us a rotation spot for our other
Yeah.
ace that's coming back. Yeah, stupid
Yeah.
Dodgers.
What was weird about it was that Dave Roberts was saying in an interview earlier this morning that they went in, they cleaned out some bone spurs. It didn't get better. They're going back in because they don't know what else is wrong. So I just as a
It's not
baseball wish,
good.
I hope that that gets figured out and Walker Buehler
Yeah,
comes back because I think he is so fun to watch when he's healthy. But yeah,
yeah.
big bummer. I like, he's a Dodger, which I don't like, but he's awesome, which I do like. Anyways, yeah.
Now that's a hot take right there.
Yeah, the Rangers release their manager and their president of baseball operations. Chris Woodward, the manager, and John Daniels, both gone. I don't
I was
know.
I was more surprised about this than I was like Al Avila from the
Yeah.
Tigers.
Why?
Yeah,
Why are
I don't
they
know.
gone? Did you really think that your offseason moves, which were substantial, were going to beat the Astros?
Well, they
Or
even
going to beat
said
the Mariners? Like,
like these moves are not about 2022. They're
yeah.
about 2023 and beyond. Like I thought they went into this season with this as a rebuild year. And for the most part, Simeon and Seager have been pretty good. It's hard to live up to any contract like that, but um like I at least from my, pretty far outside point of view, but we're pretty involved in following baseball. Like I thought the Rangers were kind of doing what we expected them to do this year, and
Yeah.
they were building a core, and I thought like, I was like, oh, if they get a couple more guys, like they could compete in 2023, which I believe was the plan. And you don't see a lot of president of baseball operations getting fired. I mean, the equivalent is
No.
John Mazalak being fired,
Right.
So
And
very
it
surprising.
Yeah, and I kind of looked at the Seager and Simeon, like obviously they're a boon to the team right now, but I kind of looked at that as also a recruiting tool. Like, hey, we got two superstars. We believe
Yeah.
in Josh Young and some of the other kids coming up. Adolis Garcia is still relevant. Like, come here, hop on this team. We're doing something.
Right.
So yeah, I agreed. Like, where did that come from? Hopefully we'll find out more as the weeks go on. But yeah, very surprised by that.
Yeah.
Next thing I want to talk about, the Braves. Once again, Alex Anthopoulos is better than your GM at retaining elite level young talent. Now, this one was surprising that he signed Michael Harris Jr. or sorry, Michael Harris II to an 8-year, $72 million deal. This guy's played 60 games in the big leagues. He's 21. He jumped from double A to the bigs. That being said, he's producing. He's a
He looks good.
very, very good center fielder, and he's
Yeah.
hitting the ball over the wall and stealing bases and all that stuff. But um, I think we can talk about the signing a little bit. But I think what's more interesting to me is their ability to lock up Acuna, Albies, their ability to lock up Matt Olson, their ability to lock up their third baseman, Austin Riley, now their center fielder for the future. Like that to me is impressive. This core is going to be together. You take Kyle Wright, Mike Soroka. I'm missing who's the left-handed kid that's really good. They have another pitcher that's very talented, whose name
Max Fried.
Right. Max Fried. I mean, these guys are
Yeah.
going to be together for what, 4, 5, 6 years? Some of these guys even longer, 7 or 8 years with this deal with Michael Harris. Like, I find it unbelievably impressive. I do wish, to put this through a Cardinals lens, I do wish that the Cardinals would maybe think about retaining somebody like Tyler O'Neill at a time like this, or Dylan Carlson at a time like this. I think it's an interesting tactic, and it's obviously you're making a bet. But this Michael Harris deal, you're making a $72 million bet over 8 years. Like that's obvious. That's money to you and I, but that's not really that much money. That could look like an absolute steal in a year, 2 years.
Well, I think part of it is that they're getting to them incredibly early, because once a guy's established himself for a year or more in the league, they can start to project out their own earnings and going through arbitration and hitting free agency. But when you get a guy who's only played for 60 games and he skipped double A, like he was sleeping in a apartment, furnished by the Braves affiliate program 2.5 months ago. And now he has generational wealth.
Yeah.
That like if he breaks his leg and all of a sudden he can't run like he could, or he just doesn't make the long-term adjustments that players need to make in order to be long-term successful. He's got more money than, he will ever need. And it is life-changing for him and his entire family, for his kids and his kids' kids and his kids' kids. $72 million is an insane amount of money. And it's not that much. It's not that much for baseball life, but it is in the real world. He is like mega wealthy now, right? And you can't blame a guy for taking that. And I think it's kind of mutually beneficial, because if there was that deal like the Astros did a few years ago, I guess
Singleton,
6 years, where it was like 5 years, 10 million or something like that. And again, 10 million, also an insane amount of money for an individual to just receive, but like it's not 70 million, so like it's not like he's being offered nothing, it's not like he's getting peanuts. And if you remember, their first 6 years are all cost controlled. The first 3 are going to be league minimum or close to it, and then 3 years of arbitration. And so you look at a guy like Soto, who has been in arbitration, and he was making 15 to 17 million a year.
He'll probably be making mid-20s next year.
Yeah. So they're giving him a good amount of money, and they're buying 2 years of his free agency, which if he truly becomes elite, then yes, he's left some money on the table. He could have made 25, maybe 30 million a year, or I don't know, it's 6 years from now, it could be like 60 million a year or whatever. But like he's definitely leaving some money on the table if he gets that high percentile outcome. But I like, some people have called these deals exploitive. And maybe you can make that argument for like the Acuna or Albies, but like for this one, I don't know. Like if I was Michael Harris the second, I'm signing that the moment they put it in front of me. And I say, okay, I believe in myself. So when I'm 27 or whatever and hit free agency instead of 26 or 28, then I'll get my, $400 million contract and put my fucking earnings into the stratosphere. And I'm
Yeah.
already uber wealthy because I made $72 million when I was 21 years old,
Yeah.
So,
And it's hard for me, like on that exploitive side of the conversation, it's really hard for me to align with any of that because of the numbers are things that I will never see in my life. And also, like, they have agents, they have all the tools to make the decisions. And if Ozzy Albies decides that he wants to secure the bag, the 30 million or whatever now, and change his entire family's life, like you're talking about, it's his right.
yeah.
And is it super beneficial for the Braves when he turns out to be one of the best second basemen in baseball? For sure. But his mom and his family never have to worry about anything again. And
Right.
depending on where you come from, depending what your priorities are, like I don't know, I don't. I'm not going to
Yeah.
judge somebody for making that decision. I think it's kind of silly to do that.
Yeah. And like the Cardinals have done this a little bit. Like Paul DeYoung, got a
Yeah,
good
that's like a
contract pretty early.
micro version of that. But
It
yes,
is, but it sucked. Like we're like, oh, like so like it is a risk on the organization as well.
yeah,
The Matt Carpenter extension, 2 years,
yeah,
$40 million, like that sucked too. And you'd like to think that those were safer bets than on the 21-year-old kid who's never played more than 60 games in the big leagues. I would have called the DeYoung extension a safer bet than this one.
yeah,
And that wasn't nearly $72 million over 8 years. So
yeah. Well,
I am
we'll
wary. How much have we talked about on this podcast of organizations exploiting the workers? So
yeah,
if you're newer to the show, we are very pro the players getting paid. We're pro worker, but I just don't totally align with people calling things like this exploitive, because the range of outcomes for Michael Harris, where he would be making more than $72 million over this 8-year period of his life, is like much smaller than all of the other outcomes where he becomes,
yeah. Yeah,
where
on
he,
the or going back to the strictly baseball side, and we can get off this topic, but like I'm we'll all be kind of watching this. I'm curious to see how these deals look in 3, 4, 5 years. Are the Braves a team? Is what the Braves are good at is being able to self evaluate more quickly and more efficiently than other teams, or is Anthopoulos just a madman and he's just kind of shooting from the hip? We'll find
shelling it
out, man.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it is a crazy risk. Like Harris looks great right now, but how many 60 games is like
Nothing.
anyone can look good in a major league player? They're the best in the world. Anyone can have an insane 50 games, 60 games, and then completely collapse. He
Yeah.
seems projectable. He seems great. And this is probably going to be a good deal for the Braves. But to say it's any sort of sure thing is, just not
Yeah.
how baseball works, how professional sports work.
All right. Last thing I wanted to talk about, and I don't know if you saw this video. It was going
I
around
did.
earlier this week, and we love TLR.
That's where
Tony
my
La Russa.
opening joke came from.
Yeah.
I thought of it before I saw, that I assumed we were going to talk about this on
Yeah.
this episode.
And I want to point out that Tony La Russa changed the game of baseball in a real way, is a Hall of Fame manager, and deserves to be that. I don't know if he is that any longer. Anyways, if you didn't see it, to a quick catch you up on this is Tony La Russa fell asleep at the wheel a little bit. They're dealing with the zombie runner. They have a slow footed player on second base whose name I didn't write down, and an entire at bat happens, and a fan who is in the green seats at Bush, or the equal to that, like right up in the front, is standing up and screaming at Tony La Russa to swap out that player for Adam Engel, who is a very speedy utility outfielder type guy for the zombie runner. And obviously that gives you an advantage. And that's something you can do. It's also a rule or a specific that Tony La Russa failed to do multiple times earlier this year. Anyways, this guy's standing up screaming at the top of his lungs. And then you see Tony La Russa kind of stumble onto the field. And I mean, he stumbled out there. I'm not even trying to editorialize. And he kind of holds up his hand. He calls timeout, and then eventually swaps out Adam Engel for the runner. And
Yeah.
who knows? Who knows if I know? The only person that knows if Tony La Russa forgot and then was reminded by that fan with the night seats is Tony La Russa. but man,
certainly
did
looks
that
like it.
look
It certainly
bad.
looked like it. It
Wow.
was very funny.
And
Now,
I've never seen anything like that in a baseball game.
yeah. I mean, he was shouting it very clear and very direct and in a distance that you would expect Tony La Russa to be able to hear it. And the timing of La Russa making that decision felt very strange. And it's really
Yes.
hard to equate it to anything other than La Russa hearing that and doing it.
Yes.
Now, that said, La Russa says he didn't hear it and he was
Yeah.
waiting for he was really considering, I think it was Eloy Jimenez. He was thinking, do I want to get that bat out of the lineup? Is it worth it? And he had just been sort of dragging his feet on the decision, and he finally made the decision, and he had no idea that someone was shouting it. And to be fair, when you've been a big league manager for 75 years, like Tony La Russa has been, you probably don't listen to the crowd, right?
No.
Like he probably completely drones out the crowd. And so I think it is like fair to say that he might not have heard it, but that is the only thing that I can say that would maybe give you an excuse as to what, because everything else, like, it
Watch the
seems pretty,
video.
it seems pretty clear.
It's bad. Yeah. And I don't need to add any more to it than that. But I think I just wanted to bring that up. And Tony, we love you, but
of course,
man, I hope this is your last season. Also, your White Sox are just taking a crap. I mean, the Guardians are beating them. They're just nothing.
Yeah. White Sox fans unhappy with Tony La Russa, and these sort of things don't help.
No.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up. But before we do, of course, we've got a stupid game to play. And Ben, I've got a new one for you.
Oh, God.
So I thought of this on my long drive today.
All right.
So one of the more fun things about the minor leagues is the absurd team names.
Yes.
Right. A lot of funny team names. It's sort of a thing for the minor leagues is to come up with like silly names. So I have in front of me a list of real minor league team names.
Yeah.
And that also includes things like independent ball, basically any sort of team that is professional that is not in the majors. And I've got team names that I came up with.
Okay.
And I'm going to say the name, and you have to tell me whether it is a real minor league team name or a minor league team name in a game that we're calling AAA or
Oh, no.
I have to give credit to Molly for helping me come up with that name. So
does she want credit for that?
Well, I don't know, but we're here now. So it is, you have to say, AAA or real or
All right.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
So
that's pretty good.
I didn't have time to make a fun intro song for this game, but
there are like 1,000 AAA teams, so we can play this game for the foreseeable future.
We can just do it forever, and I can just come up with bullshit names like for the rest of my life.
Right.
So you will say either minor league or AAA or and if you get it right, our familiar sound, you will hear the sweet crack of the bat, and if you get it wrong, you'll get a nice you're out.
Yep, I hate it.
So, yep.
And I want to say right now, I feel very confident.
Yeah. I have no idea if this is going to be challenging or not, but it was fun for me. So
yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yep. All right, let's get started. First one, Lansing Lugnuts.
The Lugnuts, Lansing Lugnuts. I'm gonna go AAA.
All right, you got it.
Sure about that. The alliteration key to these minor league names.
They love it. All right. Carolina Disco Turkeys.
Oh, come on. So are we including, is this independent league? Is this everything? Okay.
This is
not just affiliated. Okay.
Yeah.
Disco turkeys?
Carolina disco turkeys.
Oh, it's so specific that I'd be shocked if you made it up, but you're also a son of a bitch like that. So I'm gonna say, ah. Oh, wow,
That
really?
is a real team. Carolina disco
turkeys.
turkeys.
Wow.
Yep.
Is it
All right.
disco turkey? I'll look it up later. Okay.
2 words. Disco
Okay.
turkeys.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Sarasota salt pigs.
Sarasota salt pigs. That's pretty good. I like it. What is a salt pig? I'm guessing, is that some type of colloquialism for some type of water creature? Sarasota's by the water.
I know what a salt pig is, but I'm gonna let you keep answering.
Really? See, a salt pig to me, that sounds like something you would call
like a water bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
Yeah, I made that one up. I was afraid I gave it away by saying I know what a salt pig is.
That did.
Yeah. So a salt pig is,
and I play the game to win, Nate.
of course, I'd expect nothing less. We have one. It's like instead of having like a salt shaker, you'll have like a container with a lid of some sort where you have salt in it, and you can like reach in and apply salt that way with your hand instead of like shaking it.
I have a salt pig. I didn't know it was called that.
I don't think they're always called salt pigs, but that is what a salt pig is.
All right. The more you know. Yep. I actually learned something today.
All right. Corrington crab apples.
Never heard of Corrington. Sounds made up by itself. I'm going to say
I made up a city name and
you did. Wow.
Yeah. All right.
It's like I know like there's some tiny cities that have minor league teams.
Yep. Casper County quesadillas.
Casper County quesadillas. That's too good not to be real. That better be AAA.
Yeah. I made that one.
I'd buy the shirt right now. That's good.
I was pretty happy with Casper County quesadillas.
Yeah, that's good. Sign me up.
All right. Louisville Village Lose.
That's so bad. I don't think you could make that up because you maybe would have said that and been like, yeah, this is stupid. So I'm going to go AAA.
Yeah.
What?
I made that one up.
What does it even mean?
It's the Louisville Village Lose.
Oh my God. All right. I guess I need to lower my bar for you. Something we thought was impossible.
All right. Binghamton Rumble Ponies.
I actually know that one is real because I've almost bought their shirt before. So that's a AAA. Rumble Ponies. So good.
Yeah. I thought you might know, at least, like, because some of these have gone kind of viral because of their name too. Yeah. All right. Portland Tree Dogs.
Portland Tree Dogs. I think they have a minor league team that's very close to that. I thought it was Sea Dogs though, but maybe I'm misremembering. I think you made that one up. I'm going to go, I
made up the Portland Tree Dogs. You're right. There are multiple Portlands, though, so I thought you might, All right. We just got a couple left.
Yeah.
Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp.
I know that one to be real as well, because that also is ridiculous. That is a AAA team, or it's AAA. Jumbo Shrimp. That's some Jacksonville shit right there.
Yep. Last one. Delaware Drop Bears.
Delaware Drop Bears. Drop Bears. I want this one to be real. Drop bear. What could a drop bear mean to Nate? I'm gonna go.
Yeah, you got me.
Okay.
Oh, my sound effect's not working. There we go.
That's fine.
So,
I won. Yes.
Yeah, a drop bear is like a weird Australian like myth that like when you're, I think it's Australia, you have to be like,
Yeah.
you have to be wary of the drop bears where you'll be walking and a bear will drop out of the tree on you.
Sounds like Australia to me.
But I thought Delaware drop bear was a really good, like I should be a namer of minor league baseball teams.
Yeah, you should.
Well, you got wrong. Carolina Disco Turkeys, Casper County Quesadillas, Louisville Village Lose.
Ugh.
You got those wrong. But the rest you got right. Lansing Lugnuts, Sarasota Salt Pigs, Corrington Crab Apples, Binghamton Rumble Ponies, Portland Tree Dogs, Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, and Delaware Drop Bears. Yeah. You got all correct. So you got 7 out of 10.
It's pretty good. I'm smart.
Yeah. I almost did the Albuquerque Isotopes, but then I realized that they are a affiliate of the Rockies, so I figured you would actually know
and
that
maybe one of the most famous AAA teams in baseball because of the Simpsons of it all.
Because of this, yeah, exactly.
They actually have the Simpsons characters, like big statues around the ballpark.
Nice.
Did you know that?
So, I did not.
Wow.
All right, well, that'll be it for our first edition of AAA or and
oh gosh. Oh, wow.
And that'll do it for this episode of Talking About Birds. And once again, thank you all for listening and for being with us every week. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dads, tell your moms, tell your grandparents. And we'll be back next week, as always, with another episode on Thursday. And until next week, go Cardinals.
I love you all.